So do you ever feel like you don't have enough time? There's just not enough time in the day. You're not alone. I think a lot of people feel this way. Time is one of those finite resources that if we just had more of it, a lot of our problems would be solved.
I can figure this out, Pappas. I just need more time.
Now, I'm not here to tell you that I know how to make more time. No one can really do that. But I do want to share with you a couple of things that I have implemented into my daily life that have bought back a ton of time. And when I talk about a ton of time, I'm not talking like minutes or seconds. I'm talking about hours.
So many activities!
And imagine all the things that you could do with more hours.
So many activities!
These are all going to be actionable skills and tools that you can implement starting now. But before we do, if you haven't done so already, please go ahead and subscribe down below. Hit the thumbs up button on this video. However, only if you want to. There really is no pressure. Without further ado, let's get into it. So the first thing that I do, well actually it's two things, is what I like to call estimating and calendaring. Now I know calendaring is not a word. However, after today's video, it might be. So let's start with estimating. So each evening what I like to do is I sit right here at my desk and I write down everything that I'm going to do the next day, right? All of the tasks that I have at hand. Now, I know you cannot fully predict everything that's going to happen the next day, right? There's a lot of unforeseen things and things pop up. But for the most part, I have a decent sense of what I need to do for the following day. For example, I know that I'm going to be seeing clients. I know that I have to make dinner. I know that I have to perhaps pick up my child at school. There's a lot of things I know I'm going to have to do. And then the next thing I do is estimate how long each of those things is going to take. So for example, I know that picking up my child is most likely going to take 30 minutes door to door. I know that cooking dinner is probably going to take around 45 minutes. And then I actually estimate everything else that I'm going to do for that day. And if you're not very good at estimating how long things are going to take, you're not alone. I was absolutely horrible at that. I used to estimate that things would take like an hour and it would take 10 minutes. Or something that took like 3 hours I thought would take 15 minutes. So I'm just saying that because I used to be absolutely horrible at estimating time. So rather than just trying to get better, for a little while I actually timed almost all of my basic tasks. So for example, I would time myself brushing my teeth. I would time myself picking up my child from school. I would time myself preparing dinner. Now this might seem really tedious, and it certainly was. However, after several months, I started to have a really good sense of how long things would take me. And the reason why we're doing this is going to come in just a second. But you want to get really good at estimating how long things are going to take. So the next part is called calendaring. And what I will do is I will pull up my calendar for the next day, and I will begin plugging in those items that I listed out into the calendar in the slots where they belong, right? And now what this allows me to do is it gives me a visualization of my day ahead. And it's not just an ambiguous thought about what I have to do, but I can actually see what I have to do, how long each thing might take, and where some of my spots for flexibility are. I see the areas where there's no flexibility, for example, picking up my child or having client sessions. These are not flexible hours. I know that those are booked up. And then in between those non-flexible hours, I can plug in other tasks that I might need to get done that are slightly more flexible. I can also see how much free time I have and breathing room I have. And this whole practice of estimating and calendaring probably takes anywhere between 5 to 15 minutes. I would say more like 10. And that's it. It takes me 10 minutes. And having a visualization of my following day saves me a ton of time each week. And it saves me time, one, because now I have a structure that I can follow. I can look at exactly what I need to do. I don't waste time thinking about what's next or what should I do. I already have it listed out. I've already thought through that. And then number two, it allows me to actually prepare for more flexible time. So the night before, I'm actually sitting there and I'm thinking, what can be moved around, what can't, where can I rest here, where can I not rest? And so I don't just have like wasted time that's ambiguous and floats away. All of my time is thought through the night before, which clearly leads to more intentionality the next day, and more intentionality leads to less wasted time. All right, so now that we've talked about estimating and calendaring, we have to talk about prioritization. And so we need to develop a prioritization system. Now there's tons of systems out there for how to prioritize, but we first have to think about, why would you even need one of those? Don't you just know how to prioritize as a human being?
No, no, no.
There's a lot of things we can prioritize without much thinking or practice, right? So for example, if you're really hungry, you know you need to eat, and that needs to be a priority. If your kid gets hurt and falls down and you're watching a football game, you have to go tend to your kid. That's a priority. You don't just sit there and wait till there's a timeout, right? So there are certain things that we know are priorities, and we don't need much of a training or explanation to do that. But what about things that are more ambiguous? Let's say you get up on a Monday morning and you go to work and you have an inbox that's full of all these different demands, right? You have to email your boss back, you have to email your colleagues, you have to do this project or that project, and all of them feel equally important. Well, then how do we prioritize then? And this is where a lot of people end up either one, wasting a lot of time because they're having to think through what a priority is, and it becomes really difficult, and they spend a lot of time in the moment trying to figure out what exactly to work on. Another issue that people face is that they'll pick the wrong thing. So they'll pick what they think might be a priority based off of gut feeling or intuition, and it turns out that that wasn't the best thing to spend their time on, which clearly leads to more wasted time and just a big mess. But what if I told you there's a system that can help you prioritize? And in fact, there is. Now, the system of choice that I use is called the Eisenhower Matrix. Yes, this is named after the former president of the United States. And so let me just explain to you what exactly this system is. So this is actually a matrix, and it's divided into 4 quadrants. There's urgent and non-urgent, important and not important. So the first quadrant is urgent, and these are items with clear deadlines and consequences if you don't do them right away, right? So for example, if your boss says that there's a report due at 9 a.m. on Monday morning or else you're gonna be disciplined, well then doing that report Monday morning at 9 a.m. will be a priority.
After you apologize for being late.
The next category is non-urgent. An example of this might be an exercise routine. You know that you need to exercise because it's good for your health, and it's important to keep that consistent in your daily schedule. However, there's no immediate consequence if you don't go to the gym right now.
Hey, Rory, looking good.
Right? So something like that could be a non-urgent activity or thing. And then we have important and not important. And the way you can think about this is important are those things that are related to your larger goals. So maybe you're going for that promotion at work, or maybe you're going for a healthier lifestyle. Things that you're working on, bigger themes, bigger goals in your life. This is what's going to constitute important. And then you have not important, right? And these are gonna be things that don't relate to your goals, that kind of take away. Just to mind you, these are gonna be subjective, right? So everyone's important and not important. They're gonna be totally different. It's totally on you to decide what's important and what's not important. But let's say, for example, not important. For some people, this might be doom scrolling on Instagram, right? Most people would probably relate to that. So scrolling on Instagram, going on social media, this might be in the not important category. And it would be not important because it's not helping you achieve your goals. So let's recap for a second. We have urgent. These are things with clear consequences if not done immediately. We have non-urgent. These are things that don't have set deadlines. We have important, which are things that relate to your goals and the plans for your life. And then we have not important. And these are the things that don't relate to the goals and plans for your life. In fact, the not important might even take away or hinder it. All right, so now that we have those 4 categories laid out, we have our 4 quadrants. So now what you would do, anytime the task comes up or you're having to decide what to work on, you would run it through this matrix. So let's just use a simple example to start with. You have a report due at 9 a.m. on Tuesday morning for your boss, and right now it is Monday morning and you haven't started it. So let's say that's on your list of things to do. Let's run it through the matrix. Is it urgent? Yes, because it has a deadline of 9 a.m. tomorrow morning. So it would be in the urgent category. Is it important? Yes, because you want to do a good job at work because you're going for a promotion and you want to succeed in your career. So this would then be labeled as urgent and important. And if something is labeled as urgent and important, the graph would say that we should do it right away. Now this matrix that I'm using is from a website called Todoist. I think they have one of the best graphics for the Eisenhower matrix, which is what I'm using here. Let's use another example. Let's imagine for a moment you're someone who is a teacher in education and you like that job a lot. However, you want to switch careers at some point and become a software engineer. So in your free time, you are taking coding classes online to learn how to engineer. All right, let's say it's Monday morning, you get up and on your to-do list, you have practice problems for your software engineering, a class that you're taking. So let's run that through the matrix for a second. So let's say it's an asynchronous class and there's really no deadline. You can work on it whenever you want. This would become a non-urgent item. There's no deadline or consequence for not doing it right away. And then we would say, is it important or not important? And this would be important, right? Because it's going to help you achieve your career goals at some point. It's something you're really working towards. So now we have a not urgent and important. And what we would do with this is we would schedule it. So now we would go into our calendar and drop this into our calendar somewhere where it fits. Maybe it's a couple of days from now, maybe it's a week from now. But now we have taken that task and we've cleared it and put it somewhere where we can address it when it's more urgent. Two other areas of the quadrant would be important and non-urgent. Let me give you an example of an urgent and not important task. Let's say, for example, I'm a small business owner, and let's say I have an accounting matter that I need to deal with. Let's say I received a letter in the mail from the New York State Department of Taxes. I have to read it and address it by next week, right? So clearly this is urgent. There's a deadline. However, I could argue that it's not important in the sense that it's not helping me achieve my day-to-day goals. It's not helping me be a better therapist, right? So what would I do? I could delegate this. So maybe this is perfect for me to call up my accountant and say, hey, is this something that you can do for me, right? And I think that's perfect, right? Because accounting stuff is what that person will do. If we can't delegate it to someone, we can try to automate systems. And we'll talk about that in just a little bit. And then finally, we have not urgent and not important. And in this quadrant would be things like doom scrolling, binge watching TV, things that have obviously no deadline and things that are not helping us achieve our goals. Well, then we can try our best to delete these. So that's the Eisenhower matrix simply put. And this priority is not from my gut feeling. It comes from a well thought through system that works. So I suggest giving the Eisenhower matrix a try. Right, look at this beautiful dramatic lighting. Anyway, the next thing that you can do is what I like to call creating templates for things that I do often. Let me give you an example. So I'm emailing one of my staff members about something that just happened. That's gonna be an original email, right? But there are other emails that I send out routinely. So what I've done is I'll sometimes open my emails up in the morning and I'll draft the emails that need to be sent later in the day that are more routine. I might even do this for the week. And many of these emails I have templates for. So it's the same phrase over and over again, right? So I have a document actually of commonly used phrases that I'll copy and paste into these emails. And I know some applications will even allow you to have keyboard shortcuts that will type out an entire phrase with just one keystroke. And although this one might save a few minutes here and there, when you add it up over the course of a week, it actually is a significant amount of time, right? So I would encourage you, what emails can you create templates for? What documentation is routine that you can create templates for as well? Let's say, for example, you have to create a PowerPoint every week for your team, right? Rather than creating a new PowerPoint every single week from scratch, you can create a template, right? So with the things that are the same in every PowerPoint, create a template. That way when you open it up, it's ready to go, right? So I'm always thinking about where can I create templates for the things I do often. Now this next one, this one really blew my mind. So we obviously live in a culture of extremes. And now one of these extreme things that I see people doing is getting up extremely early. If you go on YouTube and Google morning routine, you're gonna see people getting up at 4 a.m., 5 a.m., 3:30. They'll say things like, my extremely productive routine at 5 a.m. Now that's wonderful. Getting up at 5 a.m. for some people is really great. However, that is not for everyone. However, if you can commit to waking up just 15 minutes earlier every day, you will save yourself an enormous amount of time. Right now, waking up at 7 o'clock instead of 7:15, that sounds quite manageable. Let me actually read you the math. So if you wake up 15 minutes earlier every single day throughout the week, you'll actually add 1.75 hours back to your week. Now, if you do 1.75 hours per week times 52 weeks in the year, Do you know how many extra hours that is per year? 91 hours per year.
Yes! That's awesome!
If you work a full-time job 40 hours a week, that is more than 2 weeks of time off that you buy back by waking up just 15 minutes earlier. Think about all that you can do with over 2 weeks extra of time.
So many activities!
After hearing that, can you commit to waking up 15 minutes earlier for the rest of the week? How about for the rest of this year? Let's give it a shot. And finally, the last thing you can think about doing is automating and systematizing the things that can be automated and systematized. We're talking about the ability to take a task or something you need to do and to automate it either with a machine or a computer or something like that so that you don't actually have to do the task. Now, I used to be against automation. So for example, I would never set up automatic payments on my credit card. I wanted total control, but I ended up wasting a ton of time. And there are tons of areas where systemizing and automating can save you a lot of time. Now, I want to share with you just a couple of things to spark your creativity and really to figure out what in your life can be systematized or automated. One thing you can do is set a timer on your coffee pot so that when you wake up, your coffee pot is already brewing. We mentioned this one before. Setting up automatic payments on your credit cards and your bills and things like that. Having breakfast prepped the night before, even maybe for the whole week. Things like overnight oats are really good. You can make those once for the week, put them in the fridge, and they're ready every morning for the whole week. Setting recurring appointments on your calendar. So if there's something you do over and over again, instead of inputting that every single time, make it a recurring event. Prepping your workspace the night before. This is one of my favorites. So I'll set out my notebook, my pen, I'll get my keyboard ready. I'll make sure my workspace is completely ready for the next day. That way I don't have to wake up and think about it. I can simply do what I do in the morning and then sit down at my desk and I'm ready to go. Having your clothes chosen the night before. Having lunch prepped the night before. Having a task management system. There's tons of tools out there that you can use. I personally use Notion, but having a task management system creates a system for all the tasks that you have. Scheduling emails to be sent in the future. Creating email templates for the emails that you send over and over again. Adding Zoom links to your calendar invites that you don't have to log in. You simply click on the calendar link. And there are so many ways that you can do this. I would love to know about your approaches down below in the comments. And I really hope that you're able to save yourself a lot more time using these skills and tools. That's what it's done for me. Anyway, I hope this was helpful for you. I hope you learned something, and I look forward to seeing you soon.